Kum Learning a Blanca Gemara. Today's daf is daf Tzadik Daled, and we're up to the Gemara actually on the bottom of the page on Tzadik Gimel Beis, and we're talking about when a person makes a purchase, does he expect it to be 100% perfect, or does he accept that part of it won't be perfect? So he said that if you sell, let's say, wheat to your friend, you expect 1/4 of a kav, or 24th, or roughly around 4% of the goods not to be perfect, or far from perfect. And we went through some things it is 10% and so on. Sorry? Yes, exactly. Says the Gemara, comes along, Tani Rav Ktina comes along and says, Roiva Kitni is Lasa. He comes along and he says that when we say that you expect 4% not to be the way it's meant to be, we don't mean sand and rocks and pebbles. What we mean is that, let's say, for example, in your wheat, you wanted to buy 100 bushels of wheat, you expect that 4% of it will be legumes. And in fact, they used to plant always wheat, legumes next to wheat fields. And that's one of the three reasons for kitnias on Pesach. One of the three reasons is because of that reason, because there might be wheat mixed into it. In fact, the whole controversy in the world about quinoa is because quinoa fields are generally next to wheat fields. So one of the reasons for those kashrus organizations that are against quinoa on Pesach is for that reason, because of the wheat. That reason of kitnias applies as well to, that's why they want to say that in Bolivia, where they plant the quinoa on top of the table, the tabletop mountains, where at the top of the mountain, wheat can't grow there. So there's no chash. Others say, might not come in, once you make it blind kidneys, so these are kidneys. We don't go look at every field to see whether there's wheat there, not wheat there. A rule is a rule. Anyway, so that's what he's saying here. You expect wheat and the legumes to be near each other, but I bought wheat and I expect legumes there. Because again, obviously legumes probably is a lot cheaper than wheat. So you expect it, and therefore you can't come later with a tiny. Oh, but I found a few legumes in there, kidney beans. Doesn't matter. It's not a tiny. Says the Gemara, proves lie. Are you telling me hold that we don't expect any sand over there, any pebbles? Much made the Rabba. Rabba Bachi is the name of Rabba. The din is a boired tzroi, migrona shel chaverei. If somebody went ahead and he went to a store, you saw a store selling wheat, and he noticed a few pebbles there, he told the guy a favor. He pulled the pebbles out. Actually, he caused him a loss, because when he was going to sell a kilo of wheat, there was going to be rocks in there, and the guy was going to pay for as if it was a whole kilo. But now you pulling out the stones, suddenly you have to give him more wheat. So you actually caused me a loss. It's nice and like you have to pay him the money of the wheat. In other words, if you took away, let's say, 3% of that, you got to give him 3% as if it was wheat. Big Machlekes are showing him exactly why. How were you mazik? All you took away was rocks. Why were you mazik? Some want to say it falls under the whole issur of dover hagoyim l'mamon k'mamadami, which is we had the Shimon and Psachil above that if you cause somebody damage with hegdish, or you cause, let's say, by chametz. If I went ahead and didn't let you sell your chametz and I did something there, it's a dover hagoyim l'mamon and k'mamadami. I have to pay you, even though I didn't make any damage, but I have to pay you because it could have brought you some money. Others say that's only Rav Shimon, and the Gemara seems to be asking stam. So interesting, the Rashbam here, he goes a few ways, but he introduces over here, he explains. Remember, we talked about that Rashi holds there's no such thing as groma and garmi. It's all the same. There's no such thing as direct cause, indirect cause. The Rashbam here, very interesting, lays out what is the difference between groma and garmi. He says there's a difference between groma and garmi, and taking out the pebbles is like garmi. And he's like this: groma is indirect. You did one ma'aser, something else happens because of that. And even though it might be obvious that it came from you, but for example, you gave a fire to a kid, and didn't you potter? It's clear the kid is going to go do damage, but I didn't do it. I gave the fire to the kid. The kid did the damage. So I'm a grama. Garmi, says the Rashbam, is when the damage you did is direct, but it's not noticeable. You took the stones away. So right now, when we look at it, it looks like damage. You took the bad things out, but yet it's not noticeable, but there will be damage, because when he sells it, he's going to have to add more wheat to make up for that difference. So he said that's the difference between Garmi and Groma. Garmi is direct, but the damage is not noticeable. It is straight away. And Groma is indirect, even though the damage is clear, we can associate back to you. In the rules of Shabbos, we say that the groma is if it takes time. You open the refrigerator door. Sorry? Yeah. So the example is like open the refrigerator or an oven, after a few seconds or minutes, the heat comes in, burn. That's groma because it doesn't happen instantly. But interestingly, the Ram gives a different, a long Ram, very nice. Remember, it's like that. You say the different groma and garmi. Okay. You have a time chance to learn it because he says the Ram. Okay, continue the Gemara. So therefore, he's not ripping off. We're saying that every person, when you buy, the Lekeach knows. It's not ripping off. He's Michael. Oh, there's a difference, but no, he's not a problem. But you're not allowed to put stones in there. That you're not allowed to do. In fact, as Rashbam says right in the beginning, and other changes as well, if the guy took the rocks out, he can't do tshuva. He can't put it back in, because that's already he shouldn't do an ovel. That's mamash an iniquity. What happens is when you make the wheat, it's impossible not to pick up from the soil. Pick up a few rocks. If you do, it's almost impossible. Then you have to continue to sift it and sift it and sift it and sort it out. But over here, what do you call it? It's memela. It's all memela. That's why we accept it. Not if you did it via die. Anyway, the bottom line is, we do accept. When you talk about kidneys, you don't accept dirt and rocks. Only kidney is mixed into the wheat. Says he, well, I'll tell you the difference, the measure. So he says here, kidneys is roiv. This is what the mission says, a quarter, 24th, 24th, is talking about if kidneys came in, the kidney still has some value. Or the afrudis, how much is a buyer prepared to accept? Mafrudis, we don't know exactly what the share is, but less, not 4%, that's too much. Less. You tell me that what dirt and thing you don't accept 4%. The metric 4 and a bit. But Tanya we learned if somebody sells, let's say Reuben sells paydas to Shimon, if it was wheat, Mikabel olav reva kidneys, except a quarter of a calf of kidneys to a sar, which is the 24th. So if he sold them barley, Mikabel olav reva neshavas, he expects to find there a quarter of a calf of straw. For each saw. So again, the 24th. And now, why are we giving different examples? I use the same example for all of them, same measure, because this is what's common. By wheat, what's most common? To find legumes there. Well, I was telling you before how they grow the fields. By barley, what's most common? To find straw there. Adoshim, by lentils, Mekabel olav roiva afruris lusa. You accept a 24th of afruris. So right now we understand, not that when medayig, you only accept afruris by adoshim, and you only accept, pebbles by you only accept you only accept straw by barley. It's just telling you what's the most common. The most common thing is to find legumes by wheat, straw by barley, and rocks. But really, in halacha, it makes no difference. So we see that even the buyer expects to find dirt and pebbles by his wheat. So tell me a story, and it's a 24th. My lab, who adin lechitim, well, the side is all the same. So what's up here saying that it has to be kidneys only? No. Shiny adoshim the meker akrilhu. Maybe no. Maybe lentil is the only one that you expect to have a roiva, a quarter of a kav. And why? Because when you pull out the lentils, you uproot the entire, whatever it is, the stalk, and therefore it comes with the soil. You can't help it. Time. So what am I asking a question like this? So what are you telling me? Adoshim is different. The meker akil because you pull the whole thing out. I will chiti v'saydi. So it seems to me that when it comes to wheat and barley, like you don't pull out, the whole thing with the dirt and everything else. So the Chayv is right. Tiv shemenei that chiti v'saydi that fruit is like mekabel. In other words, is right that you're not when you buy wheat, you don't expect any soil with it at all. Only kidneys. So you start with a question, but you sort of just explained it. That lentils are different because when you pull it out of the ground, you yank it out of the ground, it comes with the soil. So I know the truth of the matter is they're all mekabel fruitis, makes no difference. Not like an katina. They all have soil, and every buyer expects a 24th to be soil. So why does the Braisa only highlight lentils? Shouldn't the Braisa have said that a quarter of a kav by wheat, and then we'll know surely by lentils a quarter of a kav because you expect to have soil a quarter of a kav. No, we need it. The Saltin, I would have thought, keeping the Mekar Okalu, since it's common by lentils that you pull it out, they come to soil. When it comes to wheat, when it comes to barley, since it's pretty uncommon rare to have, so much soil, you don't accept more than a quarter of a cup, more than 24th. But when it comes to lentils, maybe you're prepared to accept a lot more because you expect it. And so including the price. Commercial law, and that's what I tell you. It makes no difference. That amount is uniform. In every kind of thing, you only tolerate up to a 24th. Comes on Rav Huna and says an interesting din. We know when it comes to Aino, we mentioned this yesterday, when it comes to Aino, the din is that if less than a sixth, perfectly acceptable, and the guy is Moichel. If it's exactly a sixth that you overcharged him, you have to reimburse him. And if it's more than a sixth, the whole deal unravels. The way we pass the law, we had a machlekes and that's the way we pass. Now, by a sixth, I overcharge you by a sixth, so he has to reimburse you. How much does he have to reimburse you? Just the difference between a sixth and less than a sixth? We say no. Once you have to reimburse, once you've crossed the line, then you don't just bring it back down to under a sixth. You got to pay the whole amount that you paid in excess of the true value of this particular item. So the question is, what happens over here? You found was more than a quarter of a cup. We tolerate a quarter of a cup of 24th. What happens that the guy started to look through his wheat and he found it was a 23rd. That a 23rd of his wheat was legumes, kidneys. So you have to give him, he overpaid. How much do you give him back? Just to bring it back from a 23rd to a 24th? Or now that you're paying it back, you got to give the whole thing back. So we're going to see there's a maksh and a tarts in here, and the Gemara actually doesn't resolve it at all. Says the Gemara, what it comes along and says, if you're going to start sorting out the wheat, menafa is cooler, and you realize that there's more than the share that you tolerate, and the owner now has to clean it out and separate the bad from the good. All of it. Now the two ways of understanding it. Amri ladina, some say min hadin, this is so. The amri le kanosin, some say that it's a penalty. What do you mean? It's a penalty, and therefore really min hadin doesn't have to, but a penalty because as we'll explain, we expect naturally a 24th. We worked out from our experience that if you do whatever a farmer normally does, he'll have other extraneous things to the wheat mixed in there, up to a 24th. If it's more than a 24th, in all probability, the guy cheated. The vendor cheated, the farmer cheated, and he put it in. And once we're choshed that you put it in, then we put in the whole lot. Remember, this whole din is only because it happened by itself. What do you want to go? How hard should he work to separate the two? But now that we're choshed, this guy is a culprit, and this guy is put it in himself, maybe put the whole lot in, and therefore it's knas that we make him pay the whole lot. That's what knas is. Din is that really less than 24, you shouldn't have done either. Even a 30th. I paid for wheat, not for this, none of us. It's a big job to stand there and to go through all the wheat to find all these little tiny legumes or whatever it is. The guy was Michael, not that he said keep it. Michael from sorting it out, doing all that extra work. But once it's more than a 24th, and you got to do the extra work anyway, the Michael has to sort it out and take it out. Once you do it anyway, why should I be Michael? Go do it. Finish the job. So that's min hadin. Different din in a class. Says the Gemara, Amri, some say Mandi of paid Shapira yard. He wants 100%. Good, whatever he ordered, he wants 100%. Let's say wheat. Navas, the roiva like tarich inish. For a roiva for 24th, I'm not going to ask you, the meicher, to go through the whole thing and sort it out. Or the yosim roiva, but if it's more than a quarter, then tarach inish. You have that I'm not going to accept. So I'm going to make you start sorting it out and take out the extra. The key with the tarach bekulim. Once you already have to clean it out, sort out the whole mess. That's one view. So I didn't really shouldn't have done it all. I expect 100, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Once I make a big deal, you got to sort the whole thing out. That's one opinion.
Such a small difference.
Rabbi Yemi asks those kind of questions.
It's never ending. Like
that's why it is ending. So we make
23 and 24, but then you have to take it out because you already counted it.
Yeah, exactly. How does he know? So you have to find, or the laws of my daughter's an actuary. That's what they do all the time. I think they work out the whole way. So they take a small sample, and if they see the ratio of this small sample is more than 1 to 24, let's say it's 1 to 23, they can assume that the whole lot is the same thing, and then based on that, you didn't sort the whole thing out. That's for sure. Otherwise, you did it already anyway. Otherwise, what's the point? Every time you get to sort it anyway, let's see how I can solve. Says the Gemara, that's opinion number one. Opinion number two is mine have committed for Knesset dinner. Then the same thing. Let's just see Knesset. The Amla Knesset, Roiva Shkiach, Yisla Shkiach. Roiva is common by itself. More than 24 is not common. The Ehud Arif, the only way you can have so much is because you deliberately did it. And the Kim the Arif, the moment you did a little bit wrong, we're going to count you the whole lot. And the nafkamin is what happens. We know for a fact you weren't there, and nobody mixed it in. We know for a fact that you have Adim. Nobody mixed anything in. You just picked up from the ground and you went. So knas, there won't be a knas. Even though it was more than 24, there was a 20th. It's bad luck. That's what happened. No, there won't be any knas. But if it's nadin, the din is just left to reimburse it. Says the Gemara, and I'm going to ask a whole range of questions, back and forth, back and forth. Araya, akasha, and so on. So, Mason, start question number one. It says in the Braise, talks about climb here. How much mixture of extraneous seeds do we have to have before it's a worry? So, it says in the Braise, kol saw, every saw of grains, that if there is, let's say, sheyesh b'roiva meminach, a 24th of another species, let's say barley and wheat, a 24th of to measure to wheat, yeah, barley, is yemayit. You have to reduce it. Doesn't say you can't. It doesn't say remove all of it. Yemayit means doesn't say yinoto. Yemayit means bring it back down to less than that shear. You just said before that once you have, if it's over or above, you have to remove all of it. Clearly here, you don't remove all of it. You just have to reduce it, make it back to a normal, to a shear that's bottled. So we thought the Reva the client, we thought, now it says if you have a Reva. We learned before when it comes to our case, a Reva is acceptable, a quarter of a kav, a 24th. It's only if it's more than a Reva. Here by Klein, we're saying that if it's a Reva, then it's a problem. Right, which is not exactly the same as before. So we thought that a roiva the climb is kiyosim roiva. That by climb we're more machmir. So by climb the roiva has the same din as yosim roiva when it comes to wheat. In other words, just like that by climb a quarter is no good. It's not bottled. You got to take it away because it's isa deraisa. And over here by in commercial law, if it's more than a roiva, it's the same thing. And yet what does it say? You might. So how can a Bahuna comes along and says you got to remove everything? No. Roiva decline with punkti roiva the hachadami. Exactly the same din. Which means that a roiva of climb technically mahatayra is botty. The Rabbanon were machmir because we don't want you to get in the habit of having a climb. So because the Rabbanon were machmir, so therefore they said all you have to do is reduce it to less than that. But because that's it is bottled. So there's no kasha in our case. But commercial law, we're not going to be machmir, and that's the story, yeah. Says the Gemara, so why taki might? My answer is chum decline. Taki min hadin it is bottle or roiva, but by climb because it's isa b'hatayda. Also b'hatayda, we don't want people to get used to it all and taking it easy. So we said that it's awesome. So the Gemara so the whole thing because of chumra, no, not min hadin. It's only a chumra by climb, and that's why merely in my it's aim safer. Look at the next case and look at the safer. Rabbi Yagi. He says, Yavur, you got to remove all of it. Why? If Betsim is bottle a quarter of a cab, and we're only being machmer because it's Kalayim, why would Rabbi Yossi make a double chumr? Not only be machmer than if it's a reva, which is really not a problem. Let's remove it, but to remove the whole contents, why? So, if you learn the way we initially thought, that ki yosim reva to neifas dummy, if you tell me that this is min hadin, that min hadin a roiva by Klaim has the same din as yosim a roiva by commercial. In other words, min hadin by Klaim, because it's mahatoidas, even one roiva already is not bottled anymore, it's not insignificant, and therefore you have to remove that a little bit. And then he says, no, you got to move the whole lot because you already incurred an issa, so get rid of the whole thing. And therefore we say that, and that's the same din by Yosim Reva. So that would be the Tanakama would hold that Yosim Reva, you just have to bring it back down to Reva, not like Rabbi Huna. And Rabbi Yossi said you got to clear the whole lot, and we're gonna have a problem in Rabbi Huna because the Tanakama, which is a halacha, it seems that Rabbi Huna is not going to agree with him because Tanakama says all you got to do is reduce it, and you say you got to eliminate it. Okay, but then we understand the machlekes. That's machlekes. Tanakama says that we're not in a concept the heter part. Now, once you bring it down to less than a reva by climb, The rest is mutter. So what's the big deal? And Rabbi Yosi holds counting. Rabbi Yosi, no, we're going to count in the one for the other, and if we have to eliminate the whole thing. I understand that, but then we have a problem with the one if you learn that way. But the way you want to say that the whole thing is a chumrah, really, it's the same state as a roiva of a kav is bottles insignificant, and according to Klein, there's no problem. The only reason why we're going to be machmir because it's Klein, so the Rabbanan stepped in and said let's be machmir is a mayova. Why in the world Rabbi Yosi hold you got to eliminate the whole thing? Why? So the Gemara, interesting. Hosam Haintai Rabbi Yosi? Very interesting. He says, look, if it's less than a roiva, Rabbi Yosi says, okay, no problem. If it's a roiva, yeah, if it is a roiva and we're being machmir by Klein, so why don't you say eliminate the whole thing? You know why? The moment you step in and you start taking away, let's say, the barley, and you leave the rest, it's no longer it happened by itself. It's as if you wanted it to be there, as if you planted it with your hands, like kiyita num kiyuta or kiyuta num kiyita. It's because you show that you're happy. But you're taking away the barley. Why don't you take the rest of it away? Because you're perfectly happy for the barley to be there. Because sometimes different seeds help out or whatever it is, and that's the problem that basically has. Okay, so no knife from here one way or another. You can learn the brayso two ways. Next. Toshma, come in here. If two people have we had this in the beginning of Bava Metzia and Shnai of Gimel and the Mishnah later on. Shnayim, two people she've kidu eitzel echad. The Reuben and Shimon came to Levi and they both gave him amount of money to mine for them. One of them gave him $100 and one of them gave $200. For the life of the third party, he just couldn't remember who gave him the 100, 200. Each one claims that they gave the $200. So we have a machlekes there. What do we do? So Tanakama says, so one guy is 100, we're going to get 200. Each one claims that I'm the one who gave the 200, give it back to me. Nois says, what do you do? Definitely each one gave him 100. The question is the second 100. So Nois give each one back the 100. The rest we don't know. Leave it till you. What do we see from there? We don't say we're going to park the whole $300. What's mutter is mutter, and the part that's us, we keep aside. So same thing over here. The din should be mina din if it's less than a quarter, if it's exactly a quarter of a cab of rocks or whatever it is of legumes mixed in with the wheat, no problem. Now we found it's more than a quarter of a cab, so just give him back the difference. The part that's usher, the part that's mutter, leave it there the way it is. Just like the $100 you give back to each person. In other words, a kasha on Rav Huna. Rav Huna said, you got to, once you start cleaning up, you got to take it all out. Why take it all out? No, but the idea is that what's the mutter part remains mutter, even though now you tagged an issa to it, but that will separate the issa from the mutter. You're telling me that a quarter of a cow, a 24th, is all right, it's tolerable. So that's the mutter part. Then we found there was more than a quarter of a cow. That's the assa part. So let's only eliminate the assa part and leave the mutter part.
Differentiate the two cases.
Yeah.
This is two separate transactions.
What do you mean? Each one gave one of them gave 200.
There are two separate transactions here.
Right.
One transaction is mixed into that transaction. There's this or this. So if it's not a good transaction, the whole transaction stops.
The Gemara is going to say something similar, but not exactly that. But okay, similar. The Gemara is trying to work out the principle, even though the specifics are different. But the principle: do we also penalize the heter part when you do this? The Gemara says hachi hashta. Hasam there, definitely it's heter. Vaday mon lema. There, we're troubled with the second 100, but the first 100, there's no question. It's not a dispute. We know for sure. Over here, there's always a little bit of question. You know, the linear question is, this idea that I tolerated 24th is only because I don't expect you to stand there and clean everything out. It happens. But if you put it in yourself, you're a ganef. Do you know for a fact that the guy didn't put it in himself? We're making an assumption. Over there, you know for a fact that this guy gave 100 and this guy gave 100%. So why should he penalize the heter part because we have a problem with the second 100? Here, there's always that question mark that's hanging around. How do you know the guy didn't put it in himself? Okay, so Gemara says, let's get Toshma, let's go for the safer, the one who argues. We had Omer Rabbi Abiyah said, you know what? We're going to park the entire $300. We're putting it all away. Why? Because because he said, what leverage do we have against the liar to come forward and say, admit? But if it hurts him, because now he lost his own $100, maybe he'll say, oh, I thought I gave 200. He'll come up with some to save face. But if you're going to just give back the money and that's not fair. That's not fair for the genuine person. So what is it? Okay, here's a raya. We're gonna condemn the heter because of the issa. So fakir is a raya to Rav Huna that not only once you did the issa, we're gonna also force you to pay back also the heter part. So let's bring a raya from here support. The Gemara changes back and forth. But again, no raya. Why not? Because why? Hasam vada yikramik. No way that they both gave the second $100. It's only $100 there. One of them is definitely lying. So he basically says, you know what? We're gonna have to, yehemun the entire lot. Hach over here, on the other hand, even if it's more than 24, maybe we put the bad luck. Me, yema de ruvi. Do you know for a fact that he's a liar? Maybe Taki was, like I told you before, the nafkamina halach is if there were adim that he did not add anything. But it's possible there's a lot of dirt there, were very soft, and it all came up with it. Soil. So no raya one way or another. Toshma coming here. He had a document. I lent $100, and there was also interest as well. So the deal is, according to Meir, koinsin oisoi, we penalize him. The einu goiver, we penalize the lender that he cannot collect loyas akeren, the loyas adibus. Not only doesn't he collect the interest, he doesn't even collect the part that's permitted. Ibra Meir is that raya to Rav Huna? Rav Huna said that once you went beyond the 24th, not only do we penalize you, you got to reimburse them or take out the extra, you got to do everything. Same over here. Not only do we say you don't pay the interest, you don't even pay the keren. Very good. First of all, Taisa tries, and Taisa says it seems from here, according to Rameya, because simple pshat is that the document is no good. The document is not a good document. He stole him the money. But the document is no good, and therefore he only has to pay back the keren, and you don't get the dividends. The Lashon of Meir sounds like loyas a keren. Not that with this document you cannot collect. You forfeit the whole money, which is a very big chiddush of forfeiting, and that's the right Rav Huna. That's how the Gemara is learning pshat now. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a right Rav Huna. So Tessa wants to understand why do you take away the whole why do you lose the keren? And he brings some other place, and with the other issues, always we lose a document. So he says it because the difference here is the shtar is not really the problem. The loan itself is a problem. And it's not the problem is that you wrote in the shtar that it's going to be ribis. If you didn't write in the shtar, ribis is permitted. The etzim loan is permitted, and we can go even further. Maybe even because the only reason why you lent $100 is because you're getting $10 interest, and the $100 is also visa. Snapshot. This is like all of it gets swallowed up. Oh, takes less than then. So the malva is being punished, right? Completely, and labor didn't equal a veda. Cases. Think for a second. The malva greed. What's the malva? Malva pure greed. I'll make $10 interest on $100. The labor is desperate. He needs money, and he's prepared to punish himself because not only is he going to pay back the $100, he'll be $110. So what more punishment do you want to give him? And it didn't help, did it? Because he was prepared to do it. So what else can you do? So the punishment would be, you know what? You pay back the money without the interest. He's a happy about it. I was prepared to pay the money with interest, and you're going to punish me that you still have to pay the money back, but no interest. So therefore, the focus is on the person. In a way, it's like but this is like the chur over here. The guy is greedy. So the Gemara further, yeah. Again, what are you comparing? Hasam mishas ksiva hu David. Over there, the moment you wrote the shtar, it takes us left after the wrong shtar. It's a loan. We wrote the shtar. You already over there. You already did. It says you already did it. There definitely did an aveda. Same thing we said before. Who said that when it was more than a 24th, he did anything wrong? It just might have happened. So therefore, maybe we don't count in our case. No riot to that. Not that we're asking on him, but you want to bring a riot? No riot. Toshma, let's look at the sefer. The Chum disagree. They say goyves hakeren. The ain't no goyves ribis. You collect the keren, but you don't collect the ribis. So we see clearly that you don't penalize the mutadika part. So the chayda, all we should do is bring it down from more than a quarter of a kav, more than a 24th to the 24th. Once again, hachi hashta. Hasam vada kana da taru. Over there, the keren is definitely heter. In other words, he allowed to lend money. Over here, you can't vouch 100% that nothing wrong happened, untoward happened. Maybe Taka, he put it in. You can't vouch that at all. Tasis has an interesting discussion here. that the what do you call it? That you're telling me you can use the star to collect the keret. That's what Chacham say. But it was signed by Edim who were party to this whole thing, and they also part of the Aveda. So how can the star forget about penalizing? You have a document of Edim who are apostle for greed. We'll learn that any Edim that are corrupt, that because of money they do something wrong, even Masacha Bekuvia, Galav, and all those extra things, Chamson. So how can these Edim be good? So Tisha has a very interesting discussion there. What's worse? If the ribis is buried in the star, doesn't spell it out. It just says Yankel owes Bettel $100, but really he only borrowed 90 and $10 of ribis. So the agent might be totally innocent in this case because they had no idea there was interest involved. All they know is that this guy was made in front of him, that he owes him the money, and they signed the star. Or maybe it's worse if the ribis is sorry. And why is that? And then said maybe it's worse when the ribus is written right there. You're right there. You're doing an aveda. Up in the hate, right in the thing. You're writing an aveda. And so which is worse? And the bottom line is try to say whichever is worse. It happened the other case. So the agent didn't know, for example, they didn't know there was a riches there. It's not their fault. Or then they said maybe even they did know. It's only though they were a facilitator. The Orev, even the Orev, he's like the borrower as well. So they were mamish directly involved in the aveda. Adim are indirectly. They're like sort of extraneous to the whole thing. They're just witnessing what other people are doing. So even though they're doing the wrong thing, it doesn't come under the gather of witnesses that we cannot accept their testimony. Any interesting discussion there. Thinking about it further, talking about here, we're still talking about talking about learn Tanur about Rav Nachman. It says over here that a guy said, "I'm going to sell you 30 a base card, which is 30 saw, and you measure." Now, if in 30 saw, the measure might not be exact because we allow a 24th, a quarter of a kav that you're not accurate for every saw, 24th of a kav. So you multiply by 30, so we have a quarter of a kav. So you have 30 quarters of a kav. So you have like 7.5, kavin, for 30 saw, which is a nice piece of tract of land. But that's acceptable. You don't expect to be perfect. So Tashma, we learned that now we're talking about a case here where the guy added the words hein chaser hein yaser. He had to add it's a little bit less, approximately. He had to add the word. If he didn't add the words a little bit less, a little bit more, then I want 30 so exact. So that's how most Rishonim learn. That he had to add. Some Rishonim learn it's as if he added. You don't have to exactly say the word, but we're saying that the way that Bam learns and places he added the words hein, whether it's more, whether it's less, more or less, more or less. Then we allow up to a quarter of a kav per cell. Yeah. Now, the thing is, if it's more than that, you got to give him some extra land. But how much? So Rav Nachman says, not only the extra beyond, if he was missing more than that amount of land, you have to give him. Once you got to give back, you give the whole lot back. But make sure it's 30 so. He's prepared to accept 29 so, but now that you turn out to be that you only gave 28 so you went beyond, give him the full 30 so. So clearly, take him what? And once you got to get back, you give the whole lot. Then again, what are you comparing? Over there, really, man, hadin, you have to give him exactly the 30 saw. It's only because he added the words, because he added those words, so therefore he's saying, I'm going to tolerate a certain amount. But really, every little bit is chashiv. It's only because we added that clause. So the moment you go beyond that, then we go back to the halacha. I want 30 saw. You didn't keep your side of the promise. Yes, so if it's only a revia, it's not that chashiv, like a big deal, I accept. But more than a revia, it's chashiv. And the key on the chazil, it's the rukvei betishas kavin. And since it's possible to combine it now to make a full 9 kavin, so now it's a sizable amount. It's very chashiv. You have to give it back. You have to give it back. Toshma, come in here. This is what we introduced the whole Gemara with. I know pachas b'shtuz nikne less than a six. It's a sale. Mekach. It's a sale. Yoisim b'shtuz bottle mekach gets cancelled and shtuz. And if it's a shtuz, then kona it's a kinyan. But a machzit I know. Other Amoraim hold that you have a choice what you want to do. But here, no goes back. And what do you get back? The entire lot. Amai leheder pachas b'shtuz. That shmamina isn't a raya to Raguna. That kol heicha the boy allowed to do. Once we tell you you've crossed the line, and now you got to already pay him back, then kulamad. It's not a question. We bring a raya. No. Shtus. By shtus. Say the deal is a proper deal, but you have to give him back the entire six that he overcharged. Why the entire six? You said less than a six, the deal remains and the money doesn't change hands. Leaves the way it is. Because the person is Michael. It's exactly a six. Yeah, but on a six, all you should do is bring it down a little bit, and that's it. Isn't the raya to Ravuna? Shmamina kol heicha the boy allowed to do. The right of if you want it to get back, give the whole lot back. Says you can't compare the two. Why can't you compare the two? Over there, you sold me. You told me this is the value of this object that I'm buying from you, and you can't compare to pay. Now, boss, less than a six, you don't realize you overpaid. You think that's the value because it's an insignificant amount. You think that's the value. But below you did the money. The one means a lot. And you're Michael. Or the shtus, once it's a six, you know. And if you know, below Machalin, you're Michael at all. And you're not Michael anything. I want to pay the full. Once you know you've overcharged me, then I want the real price. Coldman, I don't realize you overcharged me, so I'm accepting that. That's the price. And that's good enough. The moment I realize you're overcharging because it's the shtus, people know that already, but I'm not Michael anything. And yes, and mishtus mekatosa bottle mekach. So therefore, you can't bring a eye from there. Toshma, last case. Hamakabu studim mechaveru little. This guy is he plants trees on behalf of other people, and he accepted to plant 100 trees for him. And we expect not every single tree is going to be a fruit bearing tree. Some trees are going to be barren. Some trees are going to die young. You expect a ratio of 10 to 100 that's not going to work out. 90 have to work and 10 don't work, and you expect that. Now, and we learned before that each saw a proper day elon is 10 saplings. Big trees is 3 per saw. Small trees, saplings is 10 per saw. So that's how you. So you obviously had 10 saw there, and you're going to plant me 100 trees, and we expect 10 not to work out. You accept 10 barren trees for out of 100. If it's more than that, you got to replant. Let's say it's 11 trees. You got to replant all 11 trees. Now you won't know for a while that the trees are barren. Maybe a year later, 2 years later, it doesn't matter. You have a lifetime warranty. Realize that there are 11 trees that are barren. You have to replant all the 11 trees. Isn't this a raya to Rav Huna? That once you penalize you, or once you have to pay for the excess, you pay for everything. Anything yesef in that is as if you still haven't finished the job, you're starting to work again. So Rashbam has his way of explaining, but Taisa explains that what happens if I'm planting the trees? I'm doing the job, right? I'm planting the trees. And then I realize that this tree, while I'm planting, I realize the tree is not going to work. I can see already that it's dry and it's not going to work. I can't just say, oh, well, I'll allow 10 trees per 100. Of course, if you're middle of the malacha, you got to pull it out and put a new tree in. It's only, you finish the job completely, and 10 years later, you realize that these trees are not producing fruits. But when once it's 11th tree, that means you didn't do the malacha yet. You're still in the middle of your work. I don't care if it's 5 years later. Well, if your middle of the work is no different than when you started working and you realize that this tree is not going to work, you have to pull it out and plant another one. So same thing over here. It's like in the middle of your work and you have to go and plant another one. So that's why you have to replant all 10, 11 trees. Ain't getting in our case here. So the Gemara basically remains with yes, no. We went through it, and the Gemara, remains with no raya one way or another. As a result of that, the halach is like Rav Huna because we didn't repudiate what he had to say. We just said there's no raya from here, no kasha from here, and so on. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, but we